Is he not? Is he not scared of assassination attempts, or does that only help?
He has an ego. He's a narcissist. He doesn't think about shit like that.
Do you think so?
No, I mean after last week we had the
With the
bombs.
bombs?
We had the bombs,
Yeah.
which is by his people. First of all,
You think
liberals.
so?
Okay, here's the thing. Here's one thing I will say about liberals. We don't go. We're not as gun cuckoo crazy compared to the right. Now, we do have some people on the fringe, but it's a small number compared to those fucking Republicans. I mean, okay, so you had the bomb, the dude, the crazy dude, that
Crazy white dude.
yeah, crazy white dude,
Crazy
and then you had the guy in Kentucky that shot up two people outside that Kroger, who was a white supremacist,
Ooh.
and then you had the shooting, the synagogue,
Oh my God.
and that's the worst terrorist act of Jewish people on American soil that I heard
Insane.
in modern time. So, and that was a white supremacist who was he was I'm not gonna say he wasn't a fan of Trump, but he said that Trump didn't go as hard enough on immigration and his rhetoric.
But what does a bris have anything to do with? I mean, I guess if you're a white supremacist, but Jews are white.
But you can't. White supremacists aren't smart
I just don't get it.
because they don't believe in Jesus. That's why. But
Oh.
and I guess maybe because some Jews have Jew froze. I don't know.
I don't get it.
So I mean,
Well, and then I read today that Instagram is becoming a bastion for anti-Semitic
yeah,
remarks. There's all these hashtags that are like really anti-Semitic that are being retweeted, and so
hmm
I really think that this sort of freedom for people to come out and have hate speech
that's
right
hate
now
speech.
but I feel like it's being propagated by our president. I feel like
It
this is a
is.
trickle down issue
There you go.
from the very top.
It's
When he acts unpresidential and says unpresidential things and tweets terrible things about people and says that Mexicans are all rapists and some of them are good people, when he says these things,
that's
that
rhetoric.
gives
Yeah.
and it gives people who are nut job white supremacists the freedom to go, oh yeah, this is great, this is the perfect time to go kill a bunch of Jews.
And then this
Like,
is
what?
right, exactly. And so this is what we colored people have been trying to tell y'all for many of decades. Like, these people are crazy. Do not vote for these people. And the thing is, unfortunately, I hate the fact that it takes bodies for some people to realize that, oh my God, this is in our backyard. Yes.
Well, that's the thing though too. There's a lot of bodies around right now that we're not. I don't know. We're numb to it. There's the opiate crisis and all the people overdosing from fentanyl, carfentanil, or being put into all these drugs. There's that whole issue where there's bodies, lots and lots of bodies.
Yeah.
There's the immigration issue where there's ICE is coming in and taking bodies and putting them in places. There's the mass incarceration issue, and there's just bodies everywhere. There's the homelessness issue where there's literally bodies laying on the ground in San Francisco. I mean, I walked over. I can't tell you how many people I stepped over just to get here. I feel like we're in fucking India. No offense to India or whatever, but they have a big homelessness issue too.
Right.
A lot of people living on the street. And we are just forgiving it. We're like, oh, well, and there's even a quote in here about, well, the homeless population has been stabilized to 7,000 for the past 10 years, for the past decade.
Oh, like that's a
it's
good
stabilized.
thing.
Well, yeah, we're just keeping 7,000 people unhoused because we're just used to it now. We're like, oh, there's only 7,000.
Oh, so fuck it.
Oh, there's, whatever. These are old people. Okay, so this was a thing. This is a terrible thing. This is a human rights violation. This happened in Santa Rosa to the homeless population.
Uh-oh.
And these are first-hand accounts of what happened when the city of Santa Rosa has been really aggressive on homelessness. And especially after the fires, there's lots and lots of people that are, but, okay, so this happened. The city of Santa Rosa aggressive cleaning of homeless camp off Corporate Center Parkway continues the very human and civil rights abuses the commission decried. According to signed declarations from those affected in the major sweep, the Santa Rosa police carried out the following. Okay, one, I took my stuff away as I could get to my ex's storage unit he was letting me use, like they told us earlier. My partner was very sick with the flu, but he tried to help. We came back to nothing. Even though our friend had been there to guard our stuff, there were piles of trash around the police left alone, but they took our neat piles that were obviously being moved. We lost all our clothes, shoes, coats, phone chargers and cords, speakers, 2 laptops, paper, and all our pet food and gear, all our blankets, and our tent. They ripped my mother's tent and dragged it and everything across the street. And all her things came out and were left in the street. Now I feel really, really lost. We had been gathering and taking things away that were left in loads in this truck. I had to go to the bathroom, so I went to Food Max about half a mile away. Portable toilets are forbidden by the city in the area. When I returned, my tent was gone and all my things were all over the street. A lot of people lost all their belongings. Another first-hand account. They really enjoyed doing that to us. You could tell. I've never seen such brutal cruelty, such hateful cops in my whole life. You stand there nearby and laugh and think it's so funny.
See this one? I'm like, Popo.
I mean, is that crazy? This one's really, really sad. Yesterday, I was getting ready for work that started at 10 p.m., quickly cleaning myself with a little Dove and water. I was arrested for polluting by, I believe, Katati police officer Coots. My fiance tried to film it. Her phone was taken away, and she protested, so they arrested her for interfering.
What?
They took away our phones, but put them in our van instead of bringing them to jail, and laughed about it. They had the van towed for registration. I had just gotten my paycheck today. They
Dirty
needed less
cops.
than $200. We were so close.
Dirty cops.
But this is like
Those are white supremacist cops
and
too.
this is California, and this is Bay Area, and
This is
what we're,
liberal.
and this isn't like what's happening. This didn't happen in San Francisco, but this is Sonoma County, which is so close, and how we treat. It's just how we treat the bodies. Humans, they're Americans, and we're supposed to, I don't know,
You know,
be cool to each other. Life,
well,
liberty, and the
you
pursuit
know,
of happiness.
these people may be, they're working poor because he has a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And what that paycheck is doing, he's saving that money for a home.
Well, they towed the van.
They
though.
towed the van, the place that they're living in,
Right,
so they
'cause
can
for
get
registration, and then they were $200 away, and that sucks.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, you have now these people pay their taxes, obviously.
Yeah.
So that means those cops who are laughing, they pay their salary.
Yeah, and they're
And
taking away people's. So they lived in their van. Yeah, their registration was a little late, but I mean, seriously? I mean, can we give? It, when people are infirmed or down, what does our society do now? Like, we're supposed to be Americans. We're supposed to bring people up. We're supposed to be this place of, you know.
We
I
are
don't
a
know,
country
we
of
hold-
selfishness, and we've
It
always
is
been that way.
now. I don't know.
I think we've always been that way, but the fact of the matter, it's like now, it's just like, well, it's not, it has nothing to do with me, so fuck it.
Here's something you can do in San Francisco tomorrow, November 1st. No monster in the Mission. First public hearing in the Mission. It's at Mission High School on 3750 18th Street from 3 to 6 p.m. That's a long meeting. The Planning Commission is coming to the Mission for the first time, and they want to hear how we feel about the monster. So let's let them know that we want 100% community designed and controlled affordable housing, not luxury towers. So there's a luxury tower that's trying to come to the Mission.
Where the fuck? You mean on the
Not the
corner
monster.
right there?
It's happening, and they want to put it in the Mission.
Okay. There's
Well,
so
there's another
many
one
fucking.
they're building right now. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, the one on was that 21st, right by the middle 19th,
19th and 18th.
right by the whatchamacallit, the Skechers store, right?
Oh, that's the other one. I was talking about the one they're building right here on Bryant between 18th and 19th.
What the fuck, really?
But yeah, next to the Skechers store, there's an empty plot right now because
Right.
because there was I think arson and they burned it down.
They burned that down.
And used to have an El Pollo Loco.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
then it's burned down, so they want to build
That's
a
gonna
tower, and so we need to say, no way, dudes. Like,
don't-
if you want to build housing there,
You don't need a fucking tower. I'm so tired of them.
unless it's 100% affordable housing for families and people that live in the Mission whose houses were burned.
That's true. But do we need it? Why do we need a tower? Why can't it be 6 flights? Why can't it be?
Sure, yeah.
I
I
mean-
mean 6 stories, 7 stories. I guess that's still a tower, but there should be. Wouldn't it be nice to build have 100 homes that were affordable, that people could put lots in that. We make less than $75,000 a year, therefore we're like.
There you
poor in the
go.
city.
Yeah,
We should be
teacher
able-
salary.
Right, exactly. Wouldn't that be amazing if there was a building that was the city created and funded, and it was for all the educators that live in our city? That would be amazing.
That's something like I know this sounds like very like a utopian kind of like idea, but like, you know, for people who make 75 G's and under, you know, those are, That's even including working poor.
Yeah.
Those are just people who are like, I can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
Can I find a place where I'm not squatting or living in a bunk bed
Or
with three?
when you're an adult and you're a teacher and you have to have 5 roommates, fuck that. That's insane. So this is what in late September, Katie Tang, incumbent District 4 supervisor, and Jim Lazarus, senior vice president of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, held a press conference outside City Hall urging voters to vote no on Proposition C. Supervisor Tang told the press that the homeless population has been stabilized at roughly 7,000 people for the last decade. Tang also said that she wants an analysis of Prop C from the Office of the Controller before considering a yes vote. First, Tang's insistence that the homeless population has been quote-unquote stabilized should be sufficient to understand her lack of commitment to ending the homelessness crisis in our city. Talking about the stable population of homeless folks, she paints a relatively rosy visage of what is actually a crisis in San Francisco, in which homeless residents face a 1,000-person wait list for a 90-day shelter bed, in addition to criminalization while living on the streets and in encampments, like I just talked about in Santa Rosa. Although it is true the population of homeless folks has been consistently at 7,000 for over a decade, it should never be the government's goal to stabilize the number of people living on the streets. They should strive to end this disaster.
Okay, so who is lining her pockets?
Yeah, exactly.
Someone is lining her pockets. Or the bitch don't live here in the city. You know, someone is paying this broad.
Lazarus focused more on the economic impact of Prop C. Lazarus stated that Prop C would have a significant impact on jobs and businesses in San Francisco. 0.5% of my $50 million is gonna hurt so
That's false.
much.
That's
It's
false.
gonna hurt.
Okay. Actually, if she would control the homelessness and basically controlling the homelessness helps the economy here with tourism. Like I told you about a month ago, some of the conferences have bailed out of here because of the homeless problem.
Sure.
So that's not helping the economy here.
Susan and her sweater set from Cleveland are scared when they come here and they see all the needles on the ground.
I'm scared of that shit.
It's terrible.
Susan.
I don't think that 0.5% tax on 50 million or above is going to hurt.
It's not. It's 0.5.
0.5 of people that are making over $50 million. When people here are surviving on nothing, you can give a little.
We're in like the tech capital of the world. So we have Uber and Twitter and Salesforce and Oracle and all those places
and
here.
They're not going to move jobs out of San Francisco.
No.
I don't think they are. He says that they are.
That's a scare tactic. She's got her pockets lined with some of these companies.
Yeah, total job loss, blah, blah, blah. So the domestic product loss incurred by Prop C would only result in an average loss of 0.1% of jobs and 0.1% of San Francisco's GDP over a period of 20 years. So by taking the amazing profits that you tech companies are getting in our city and just taxing you a tiny bit, 0.5%, I don't know, to save and help people, like, I just can't understand how greedy. I mean, I guess we just have to, corporations are people and they are greedy.
But I mean, the thing, it doesn't make sense for them to vote no because it's going to hurt them economically. It doesn't make sense. It is
It
totally
makes sense
greedy.
for the people that want it, people that have money that want to keep their money.
But the thing is, like, okay, so tourism, and then when they invite people over from different countries or what have you, and have these conferences, do you think they're gonna want to have these conferences here after seeing how this city looks?
Of course not. This is gross.
No, exactly.
This is the 10-point plan, funded by the top 1% largest corporations by a small tax on revenue earned over $50 million per year. Will not impact small businesses or homeowners. Provides intensive mental health care and drug addiction services for over 4,000 severely impaired individuals. Moves more than 4,000 households, including seniors, women, youth, and families with children, off the streets and into supportive and affordable homes. Expands shelters to give the 1,000 people on wait lists each night a place to sleep off the street. Prevents additional homelessness, protecting 7,000 San Francisco households from losing their homes through rental assistance. Places mobile bathrooms and sanitation centers across the city to allow people to relieve themselves in dignified and sanitary way. Expands navigation centers, one of the most effective, proven approaches to bringing people off the streets and into care. brings back the clean, healthy streets that San Franciscans deserve, requires an oversight committee comprised of experts who will review and report regularly on the results generated by this strategic plan. It's going to create some jobs. Has broad support from the community, including House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco teachers, SPUR, Mental Health Association of San Francisco Democratic Party, and the Coalition of San Francisco Neighborhoods. So,
sounds a little bit realistic to me.
yeah, say yes to Prop C and say no to greedy fucks. So it's not even that the 50 million gets taxed by the 5.5%. It's after you make $50 million. So if you're a company in San Francisco,
Which here's plenty.
yeah, and you're making $1 million, it doesn't affect you. If you're a small business owner, it doesn't affect
It
you.
doesn't affect you.
If you make over $50 million,
These are
Then
big
that is
companies
taxed.
that they're talking about.
and the thing is, it's gonna bring in like over $300 million, and we need that to solve. No one deserves. This is America. This is fucking America. And there's 7,000 people, and we're all cool with like, yeah, there's old people living on the street. Whatever.
No,
They're
it's
old.
sad, and the fact of the matter, and then let's put it like in for sanitation and health reasons. The
Yeah.
fact of the matter that these people will be able to use the bathroom in a proper
And I
bathroom.
can use a bathroom. I have to pee all the time on the street, and I go in between cars. There's no fucking bathroom. Put some bathrooms on the street.
I mean, and the thing is just like it helps control disease.
Sure.
Point blank. Period.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a simple solution, and whoever this Tang,
Tang and Lazarus. Lazarus, go back to being dead.
yeah.
Go back to being dead.
So vote yes.
Please vote yes.
Yeah, and vote period. God damn it.
Yes, vote period. So squiggle the toggle over there, and let's do figure out what our insane friend is doing. Look for the one he said. Let's start with Trump years ago, when he said it was from it's years ago. It's like from 2015. There's 4 of them.
Let's see. Is it Trump to end immigration?
No, that's now. Well, we can
Okay.
either one. We can do either one first. Doesn't matter.
The U.S. shouldn't.
Yeah, either one of them is fine. Because basically it's that, oh, that's the one now, and
Okay.
then we've got the one then. Do you want to do then first
Oh,
or now first?
this is the then.
Okay, so let's do
Because
the
fat fuck is on
let's
there.
do the then first.
Okay.
This is from 2015. This is Donald Trump talking about.
So I turn it up on 4.
No, it's 3.
Oh, 3. It's the same thing he said the other day. Jeb Bush.
I promise I would have gotten it.
I want to smash his face in.
If I wanted it, I would have got it.
Like I'm grabbing pussy.
Wow. This is 2015, everybody.
Donald Trump and Jeb Bush.
I'm perfect and awesome, and everything I do is great.
So that was in 2015.
Okay, so that was 2015, and that's him talking about the naturalization issues. Let's see what he said on Sunday. This is what happened. So we elected this fuckface, And
We
now
knew better.
we thought we yeah. And now this is what he said on Sunday. This is the sorry guys. I same
Same thing.
diatribe.
And we're not the only country.
Ah!
Lies. There's 30 countries. Mexico. Constitutional.
Yay.
14th Amendment. Exactly.
Anyone born in the United States is a citizen.
Yep. Like his wife's child.
Yeah, like his wife's child.
No, it doesn't. For blacks. Slave. That's not true. Like his wife and her family. Brown people.
Brown people. And Asians. He doesn't like Asians anymore.
Brown people. I really wish the main media would be honest about what it's about. scaring the white folks.
Racism.
Hmm. They're coming to get your kids.
Racism.
They're coming to rape your people.
President's tweets.
Ugh. Scared white folks.
And the crazy thing is that uh, we're a country built on immigrants.
Okay.
We were built. This is the whole point of the United States, of America. And
Stolen land.
Thinking about calling it America is kind of fakaked because we're in North America and there's a lot of people in North America. Like America is actually, there's South America too. And for us to be like, well,
Mexico's part of North America.
Exactly. But we're America. So like even the language of what we use to describe our own country. Yeah, we are the United States of America. But to say the United States of America and to say just America is almost closed-minded. It's almost like me being a rich person dressing up as a homeless person for Halloween. It's so short-sighted. I can't believe that we're letting this happen.
We aren't letting it happen.
Well, but
those crackers.
But what can we do? It's happening. It's happening.
Actually, it's not going to happen because it's the 14th Amendment. Do you know how hard it is to change a constitutional law? And by the way, they actually did not tell the 100% truth of one of the reasons why the 14th Amendment started to exist. It was after the Dred Scott case, I believe in 1856. You guys need to read up on the Dred Scott case that took place in St. Louis, Missouri, about the slave. Dred Scott was a slave, and he basically was trying to get his rights, and it got turned down. And so then, after the Civil War, I believe it was after the Civil War, 1866, 1868, is when the 14th Amendment came in to let those free people who are black basically be known as American citizens. Because Dred Scott in the 1850s was not considered as an American citizen.
Because he was a slave.
Yes, exactly. So that's something also they did not mention in the mainstream media. This is why please don't always listen to them. They don't get their facts right.
And it sucks because we forced the African diaspora, we forced people
399 years ago.
We forced people to be immigrants.
And
they didn't choose to be immigrants. We forced them here, and then we didn't give them American citizenship. Well, of course, they were property at that point, so they weren't real people. I mean, to us.
And even just talking about, whites coming in here throughout the 1800s, as far as to like the 1930s, 1940s.
Yeah, he's fine with that.
Which is not that long ago. There was a big implosion of the Irish, the Italians coming over here through the 1900s to all the way to the 1940s. So you still have first generation, second generation here that are Americans, that are born here. That is still fresh. So they're not called illegal. They took a long boat ride over here.
Yeah.
I mean,
when is it? When are you allowed to be? What time?
I mean,
period are you allowed
and at first, like you exactly said, we are a nation of immigrants. And then I'll throw something, literally, and then I'll throw something even better. Do you know that? Of course, you should know that Trump's two wives were immigrants. Oh, and by the way, Melania was working here illegally when she was a model because her visa expired.
Wow.
So she was illegal. And then let's talk about chain migration. Wow. Her parents just became American citizens because of chain migration.
He doesn't like chain migration.
Yeah.
He does not like it. Trump does not like it. But yet he used it for his own advantage because it's okay to use privilege when you're a white guy.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I believe his mother came over here in the 1920s from Scotland, I believe.
Wow.
Not that long ago. Under 100 years ago. Yeah. I mean, give me a fucking break. I'm sorry. You crazy ass, not all white people are crackers. But those who don't read up their history, those crackers, Read,
And
please
remember
fucking
why
read.
it's crackers. It's not like saltine crackers, like we're so white that we're full of salt and we're delicious little crackers that you eat when you're sick. Nay, it's that we were the whip crackers, and that's why we call it, because it's like you're the cracker, you're cracking the whip against the people. That's where the slur came from. But it's not even
Yeah.
like, it's like a slur, but it's still like embraces the power of white people, which sucks. I mean, it's hard to even slur us. This, he is a slur. Trump is a slur.
He's a
right now
slur.
against white people. This is terrible. This is, and I just,
It's
I
the
can't believe that we're gonna let this happen.
it's so stupid. So Americans are so fucking stupid to even believe into this
To
concept.
entertain this concept.
Yeah, we are still a new world,
Yeah.
and the fact that we have most everything documented from people coming over here. Oh, and then our land getting taken.
Oh, well, that's the other thing. Did we naturalize the Native Americans? We're like, well, you're American citizens now.
Oh,
How did we figure that out? We're like,
Well-
we stole your land, and now we're gonna let you be citizens. Well, we're not gonna like give you all the rights, or you know.
We're even right now to this very day trying to suppress your vote, which I think this is going on in North Dakota where they are suppressing the indigenous people's vote right now. It's just
It's just anybody who, for whatever this, if we can't see this, like, we can't learn from the past and see that there's a fascism that's sweeping our nation, and that we're letting these, if we let him, you know, he could change the Constitution because he just got Kavanaugh, a young, white, misogynist, into the Supreme Court. So maybe this might happen. It's very scary.
I'm leaning on it, the fact it won't happen. I think this is just scary rhetoric because the fact of the matter, I'm quite optimistic that at least the Democrats will take the House, in which you would have to get to the House in order to change it. And that
Sure.
I'm optimistic that, because changing an amendment or eradicating an amendment is a long process.
But they switched.
And
if it
he
was
doesn't-
good, I'd push it through. If I wanted gambling in Florida, you bet I'd do. You bet it would have
He
been there.
thinks
I can do anything I want because I'm the smartest, best person in the world. I'm the president.
Yeah, he couldn't even get his facts right. We're the only country. There's 30 other fucking countries. And the fact that he thinks that he can use his executive order to eradicate.
So this will transition into this. More executive orders. So
Oh,
he had
right.
the executive order with the trans ban from military, but now, to remember last week, so every week it seems to be a new thing.
Every
new
week.
human rights violation. Every week it's a new human rights violation. If it isn't the ICE going into people's schools and taking their parents, if it isn't putting babies in cages, if it isn't saying these babies here are no longer American citizens, if it's he's taking rights
Or the
away
migrants
from somebody. If
coming.
he's not saying that women aren't real people or making fun of women or saying they're
Not
not
this
smart,
week.
if he's not doing that, then he's doing something else that's terrible. So this is what he's doing the trans people, which is happening, and we need to stand up. This is from Newsweek, and here I'll do it. With the midterm elections right around the corner, it's more important than ever to be vocal about the Trump administration's constant attack against the trans community. Between the military ban, his refusal of protections for trans youth in public schools or trans people using public restrooms, and now his determination to erase trans people's legal identity, Trump has proven to be an enemy of our community and must be met with strong opposition. After Trump became president, we regressed in the fight for equality. We took several leaps back from the progress we had achieved during the Obama era. This is, I'll tell you who wrote this. It's a letter from trans people. It's Carmen Carrera is the name of that writer.
Oh, I know who she is.
In the beginning of my career, I received minimal backlash and was met with slight opposition during Barack Obama's presidency. However, during Trump's candidacy, nomination, and eventual inauguration, I received a terrible backlash. Having someone like Trump in office gave his supporters the agency and validation to spread hate and attack public figures who are trying to create positive and genuine change. After Trump became president, this world became a more dangerous place for trans people. The fact is, society was more comfortable embracing stories like mine and people like me during President Obama's terms in the White House. Mainstream society has felt the need to defeminize me wherever they can and discredit my female identity. Some people have decided I don't really count as a woman. This isn't just a trans issue, it's a women's issue too. I threaten traditional ideas and structure on gender, and that scares Trump and his supporters. I even see it with the brand partnerships I've had in the past. Companies became a bit more hesitant to work with me or promote campaigns because they feared how their consumer base would react after Trump was in office. Social media is one of our most vital tools in fighting the Trump administration. The hashtag Won't Be Erased movement shows how the trans community and its allies adapt and push back against the dangers and toxicity from this rhetoric coming out of the White House. Social media effectively rallies like-minded communities and empowers them to continue to fight for their rights. I use my platform to educate, inspire, and empower my followers. Sometimes knowing that there is an entire community out there fighting the same battles as you is an inspiration, is all the inspiration you need to keep going. Trump is a cisgender, straight, rich, white male who can't possibly understand what it's like to live a trans experience because he's never been exposed to that life. Or even a trans person that he takes seriously. I would implore him to research and educate himself. Oh, he doesn't like to read. He doesn't get to know us. He needs to understand that we are human beings and valued citizens in this country. He needs to familiarize himself and recognize that many accomplishments and contributions we have made to society. We are not second-class citizens. We are innovators and trailblazers. We are worthy of love, appreciation, acceptance, and a chance at life after our transition. Trump's presidency is fueling the fire that President Barack Obama helped extinguish during his terms in office. Our community will never be erased. We are here. We have always been here. And despite Trump's continued attacks to delegitimize transgender people, we will persist in our fight for equality. We are embedded in society. We are educators and doctors. We are lawyers and entrepreneurs. We are artists and designers. You cannot get rid of us. Like so many of my trans brothers and sisters, I have worked extremely hard to build up my identity to where I am today. And that will not be erased because of the ignorance and hatred Trump continues to spread. We will not sit idly by and let him chip away at our right to exist. We have a powerful voice, and it would be in his best interest to listen. The trans community is a loyal 1.4 million strong family, and we vote. Carmen Carrera is a mother, actor, advocate, and one of the world's highest profile transgender women. She's a dedicated international human rights and HIV prevention advocate and works with organizations like Sunyos LGBT to fight discrimination against young transgender women. Yay! Yay for Carmen!
He's not going to educate himself nor read.
Not.
Give up on this man. I don't know why people are still trying to have hope for a piece of shit.
But the thing is that
there's no hope for him.
Turning back this transgender issue and saying that okay, so we understand now, scientifically and emotionally, or our body, that gender is a construct.
Yeah.
And it's a fluid spectrum. And people can land kind of in different places on this spectrum. But taking a person's choice of gender away, how a person wants to represent themselves to society is their personal choice. And taking that away and saying, no, you have to identify as this. That's fascism. That is clearly fascism. That is saying that your point of view is not important, that your thoughts and feelings and the way that you live your life is not important. If you don't get to make that choice, you don't have that choice. You are what we say you are.
Exactly.
And you shut up and you fucking take it. And you take the abuse and you take the closed-mindedness and we turn back acceptance. Why would we want to turn back acceptance?
Because we're making America great again.
Gross. I dressed up actually on Friday as Miss Make America Great Again, and I wore a 50s outfit, and I was very like put together, and I wore lots of makeup and a tiny little sparkly cowboy hat, and and I had a little apron on. I don't even know the words anymore. That said wench, and I was like, "Make America Great Again," but people didn't like that I was making fun of. They were like, "Why are you dressed as a MAGA?" And I'm like, what's a MAGA?
Poking fun.
It was poking fun.
Okay, stop being sensitive. That's that PC shit that I don't like.
Why are you supporting MAGA? I'm like, I'm being satirical. Look at me. I'm dressed like a...
I'm poking fun at that.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, just because you're born with the dick or a cooter, it doesn't mean that you identify. Isn't there some chemical in the brain that kind of tells you that, you identify as a man or a woman? There's some scientific.
You know, the thing is, I'm not sure. I know gender's a spectrum, and that, like, I mean, I I have a lot of male tendencies that, like, on the gender spectrum. I mean, I wish I could identify as male because I would want all the rights and privileges that white men get to have. Like, I wish I would have been a little boy. There's so many doors that would have been open to me. I wouldn't have been seen as annoying or bossy as a child. I would have been seen as a natural leader, and I might have been pushed into, leadership positions instead of always silenced and saying, go. Can't you just look pretty? Can't you just smile and look pretty? Can't you just do that?
But fighting for it is fun.
Fighting for it.
I'm glad I'm a woman of color because I like to fight with words. Shit.
I meant to do last night at Cops. I meant to do my feminist set, and I was off the rails. I was a little drunk, so I did some other things. But this is the other thing. This is from Vice, and Broadly, and it was just from a day ago, and it's the timeline of how Trump has been attacking trans people since he's been in office. So I think this will be very interesting for us. Despite the fact that transgender people make up just 3% of the population, according to the 2017 GLAAD study, there is a concerted effort across the United States to limit our access to healthcare and civic spaces, in an effort that has been fomenting prejudice on the state level for years, and now is being undertaken by the top levels of the American government. Yet less than 3% of the people. This sounds kind of. I really feel like this is the modern day sort of concentration camp kind of issue, where we're going to take 3% of our population and blame it all on them, and kill
It's
them.
definitely the new civil rights movement, that's for sure.
Yeah. New York Times recently exposed the Trump administration's secret initiative that, if enacted, would definitely exclude trans protections from existing constitutional civil rights statutes. Oh, why is it trying to change the Constitution? The plan, according to the Times, is spearheaded by the Department of Health and Human Services and seeks to collaborate with the Departments of Education, Justice, and Labor in a joint definition of gender as, quote, a person's status as a male or female based on immutable biological traits identifiable by or before birth. So in the womb, if they show a pee-pee, then you're a boy. This is essentially the bizarro inverse of what the Obama administration did in 2016 when the U.S. Department of Justice and the U.S. Department of Education issued an order clarifying that the term sex in constitutional anti-discrimination laws covers transgender people. Obama's decision to formally recognize trans people's rights was based on a court precedent that he had already ruled in this manner. Though Obama's directives didn't change the law, they clarified it and how it could be interpreted, and thus sent a message across the nation that trans people are a constitutionally protected minority. And you know what? Obama studied constitutional law before, before he was a senator, he was a constitutional lawyer. It's so funny that someone who's actually qualified to talk about the Constitution did something to change it in the favor of the Constitution. And then we have a person who doesn't read. We have a president
Executive
who doesn't
order.
read. He watches TV. He doesn't read. He doesn't read.
He only works 3 hours a day.
What does he read? Reads nothing. He doesn't read anything. He has no idea what's going on.
He does.
No idea about constitutional law. And yet, let's change it all. Let's crazy trans people.
He thinks it's just like that.
Let's just worry about. Let's just demonize. And
I could just write executive order.
It's why are we trying to take human rights away from people? Who does that?
Because he's a crazy cracker.
I just don't get it. Trans people are a constitutionally protected minority. That action enraged the right, which in some states levied lawsuits against school districts that have allowed trans students to use properly gendered school facilities, and launched multi-state-backed national lawsuits on behalf of state-funded religious healthcare professionals who objected to providing transgender care to patients. I mean, seriously?
How do you have that much hate in your heart? I don't get it.
I don't understand how we're not seeing people as people.
And they're using their religion.
Some people are people, but some people are more people than others. Or some people are less. All of that was already happening under Obama, and it didn't take Trump to spark a conservative backlash to the transgender civil rights movement. The Trump administration has simply picked this mantle and brought it to a new extreme. Since he took office, Trump has attempted to undo his predecessor's work, to doing away with Obama's pro-trans executive orders, attacking medical care, trying to ban trans people from the military, and now to revoke the constitutional protections of all transgender Americans by signaling that the federal government has a trans exclusionary interpretation of constitutional law is like Title IX and Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The Trump administration is creating a cultural environment that may make courts feel more confident in ruling against transgender people. To be clear, courts have not been ruling against us. They have consistently ruled in line with the Obama-era guidance around these laws, which has created a large body of legal precedent confirming that transgender people are already protected under the law. This is an essential distinction to understand because it is easy to assume trans people are not protected by anti-discrimination laws. We are. While there are social institutions in which trans people will still desperately require laws protecting against discrimination, such as housing, existent constitutional laws that protect people on the basis of sex also protect transgender individuals on the basis of sex. We don't need constitutional amendments to protect trans people from discrimination in school or at work. We already have it. Republicans simply wish to reinterpret these existing protections in a way that would exclude trans people. This seems particularly odd since, as I said earlier, we're such a small minority. Even although there are so few of us relatively, transgender politics are an easy target for the right to label extreme, making us a useful battering ram to rally quote-unquote normal Americans behind. To the right, transgender people are more a symbol of unsettling change than they are people. Interesting. This is the quote they pulled out, which I'll say again. The Trump administration is creating a cultural environment that makes courts feel more confident in ruling against transgender people.
This is why it was so important to not have Kavanaugh.
Right.
You know.
Because he doesn't like women, I bet he doesn't like trans people.
He don't like nobody. He like beer.
I got excited about that.
Yeah. And rape.
And rape.
Beer and rape.
Yeah, hey, who doesn't like little beer and rape? There are different tiers of legal precedent which guide the judiciary in interpreting law, and while the current areas of precedent for trans protections are legitimate, there has not been a ruling on the issue at the nation's highest judiciary, the Supreme Court. That's partially why the Trump administration's actions are so alarming. Were a transgender discrimination case related to Title IX or Title VII to reach the Republican majority Supreme Court, a ruling there could create the strongest degree of precedent yet. A ruling against trans rights at the highest level would set a legal precedent that would subsequently inform all future rulings about transgender people seeking protection under these laws. That's pretty fucking insane and utterly unsurprising with respect to trans rights and so many other issues. Trump's election was an alarming disruption to the promise of social progress under President Obama. In 2012, Joe Biden, then vice president, stated that the fight for transgender equality was the civil rights movement of our time. Obama extended protections, including an executive order on behalf of the rights and welfare of this vastly underrepresented community, and accomplished, by far, more for trans Americans than any president in our history. Of course, transgender people have long lived in the United States in darkness, surviving the 20th century, when it was widely illegal to cross-dress, and for most people, trans medical care was virtually a fiction. Our communities have fought to survive through the AIDS plague of the 80s, which continues to disproportionately impact trans women of color, who are at an exponentially higher risk of HIV than other communities. Extreme violence at the hands of men, with national murders that increase year after year because we are finally looking at this problem. Its true scope is being progressively unveiled. Absolute erasure throughout the nation from the home, where our families have long rejected us, to civic spaces where our presence in public restrooms is restricted, to healthcare where we strive for medical treatment despite having long been castigated as mentally ill, and to the church, which has widely spread propaganda against transgender people. Trump had little to say about trans people on the campaign trail, but his racist, xenophobic, sexist, ableist, and otherwise broadly discriminatory talking points at political rallies made it clear that he was a voice for id-level anxieties, reflecting some Americans' worst natures. It became clear that Trump the odd-looking reality television host and master of none, could collapse the tenuous levees of social justice that transgender people and their allies have built to prevent social forces of hatred and ignorance from flooding in and submerging us completely again. When Trump was elected in 2016, I wrote about the threat that his presidency poses to transgender Americans. In 2017, I wrote in Reflection about a year for trans people under Trump, highlighting the transgender community's resilience and resistance against a political mad dog propelled by his own pursuit of power. A person too stupid or too self-motivated to mind playing puppet for true political masters. I know that resistance continues and grows in strength. Today, in the wake of Trump's latest and broadest assault against our community, I'm overwhelmed by the inevitability of his cultural movement. It was clearly predicted from the start. Trans people are people.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of trans friends,
I
and
do
they're
too.
awesome dudes.
First of all,
And ladies.
I used to work with a bunch of trans women and for the makeup department at Bloomingdale's, and they know how to fucking work.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to kick ass on their. Listen, and that's not even. I mean,
But
I don't mean to stereotype, but they know how. Shit, they can teach some women some shit. But
eyebrow plucking.
Yeah,
For sure.
Just painting the face,
Painting the
dressing. But I mean, the fact, and then that goes for trans men too. It doesn't matter. This fear of like, it's that old stereotype, the same thing that they've used about gay people, like, oh, they're gonna get your children, they're gonna molest them, and they'll cross dress and go into the bathroom and then aggressively kidnap or rape your children.
All
You know
terrible
who
propaganda.
you know who
Well,
rapes your children?
Mexicans, just kidding.
No, Catholic priests.
I'm sorry,
People who are evangelicals are rapists of children.
Well, predators are predators.
Predators.
And they're everywhere.
They cross
Predators are gonna
spectrums.
prey, and they're all over the map. And there's no. I don't think that you can say that any particular race
Or I know
predators
mostly
are
a lot of men are mostly the ones that are mostly.
And we don't want to say that too, because there's also female predators. There's look at the women that were teachers that had sex with their junior high age students, and the lady who's in jail, and then she had the boyfriend, and they had a baby, and then they
Mary Kay Letourneau.
Yeah,
And they got married.
Predators are predators, though.
Right.
People who want to control children and control people underage sexually are gonna do that, whether. I mean, we can't stereotype them in any particular
I'm stereotyping.
race. I mean,
I'm saying they're mostly men.
but
I have to look at my
we can
facts though. We can look at the facts.
We can fake news it too. But
No,
the
we're not
point, but the point is that transgender people are people, and if they choose to identify with who they are as a person and express themselves in any way, let them. Why not?
They're just trying to live. Seriously.
Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's in the beginning. So if your pursuit of happiness, if you were born in a differently gendered body than you choose to express yourself,
anyway.
then it is somebody's business.
First of all, you're not going to be checking people's
This
pants.
doesn't matter.
Like-
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're gonna grab their dicks
By the pussy.
and find out. Like, show me your papers. Show me
your vagina.
I mean, and what about?
That's assault.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Just my friends that are dudes that were born as women, they're dudes now. They're rad dudes, and they're not. I don't understand why they can't be dudes. And
Let them live.
Yeah.
It's nobody's fucking business. I thought, these are the same Republicans that want small government, or used to want small government. But you want to enter into people's vaginas, bathrooms, pants, bedrooms, all of the above. But you want small government. I mean, get your hands out of my pants.
Yeah.
It's nobody's business.
Yeah.
You can't tell. You don't know who is who.
No, exactly.
And even if
My
you could,
dudes,
so what?
My trans buddies that are dudes, like, one of their wives actually outed them at one point. I didn't even know he was. I didn't know, and I didn't care. I don't care. Like, but he's 100% dude. Like, I just.
and you
That
know,
was it. I didn't.
and then here's something that we have an issue with a lot of the straight males who haven't come out the closet, who sexually don't want to admit that they are into, trans women or trans men. So they rather murder them
Oh,
instead of them being outed.
right.
There is a big influx of that going on in a lot of communities about, men suppressing their sexual urges, about the fact that, if they're into trans men or trans women, so what?
Well, there's a lot of porn too that supports that.
I know. Well,
Not abusing people that choose their gender, but uh, it's crazy to me what's going on in the world, and I do think it trickles down from the top. Let's get to these other views. First, we'll go with Leslie Stahl, and she interviewed President Trump
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
right?
ago, and so this is her commenting on
Oh,
what it was like to interview him, and then we'll do the John Olive one because it'd be funny. So this is.
tick, 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 tick. I love that tick.
Yeah.
Ugh. Dictator. You think China?
Yeah, because they're being indicted for the Russian stuff. Oh God, I hate that guy. In the meantime, I'm president. You're not. Ugh.
Ugh. Ugh. I want to take a shower.
Yeah. because the elections are coming up soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. You think, Les?
It's theater.
Narcissist.
Yeah. It's all a game to him. I like doing this. I don't know why. I play with people's lives.
I'm just the president of the United States.
You know who did not welcome him? The people in Pittsburgh. They after the mass shooting, they rejected him coming. He came anyway, and they had thousands of people that protested, and the majority of people they uninvited him.
Good.
Yeah.
City of Brotherly Love, he's not allowed.
No,
He's not a brother.
that's Philadelphia.
Oh, sorry.
Pittsburgh.
Pennsylvania.
That's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Philadelphia's in Pennsylvania, though, too.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Pittsburgh's the second largest city.
So hard to tell. So this next one is John Oliver making fun of that whole situation, and it's one of those. There you go. And he's being funny, and I like him. This is from the Daily Show, and he basically parodies that whole thing.
Oh, is it Stephen Colbert? Oh, it's Stephen Colbert.
Oh, there it is.
I love Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, it was.
That's awesome.
That was really fun. So
there's something else that a lot of we need to be paying attention to as well. In Brazil, the new president who just got elected, Bolsonaro, I believe his name is just like Donald Trump but worse.
Oof.
I have a feeling there might be a new civil war that's going to start in Brazil,
Well,
which is
didn't
going
that
to
other guy get shot? The guy who was running against him, who was like far, far left.
Oh no, he got stabbed.
He got stabbed because when I was in Rome, I remember watching he's sitting on someone's shoulders and they're
yes,
like, blah,
that's
blah, blah.
Bolsonaro.
And then, so he got elected.
Yes. He is a very far right wing.
But he got shot and then he got elected.
Stabbed. He got stabbed. And then he got elected. And that's what boosted his...
Because,
Yeah. And so basically he won. So he's like Trump 0.0. And so basically he's very...
7.17!
he's very homophobic.
Oof.
hardcore racist, which I can't understand in Brazil.
In Brazil?
Yeah,
Against
exactly.
against who? Against
Black people.
But
No,
everyone's black in Brazil. Almost everyone's
pretty
black.
much, but they're those white people. They don't know about their history, and also too there was something he said. There was a quote about one of the women that was in the government. He said, like, I wouldn't rape her. She's too ugly to be raped.
Sounds
I'm not
just
saying
like Donald
I'm not
Trump.
saying that I'm into rape, but I definitely wouldn't rape her. It Don't quote me on that quote, but it's kind of
Something like that.
something like
Well,
that.
that's like when President Trump said that I would never have sex with Stormy
Yes.
Daniels. If I was gonna have sex with a porn star, she'd be so much better looking. Like, seriously, dude? Really? Really?
So keep an eye out on Brazil. Oh, and he also called to 45 called to congratulate him as well, and they can't wait to start working with each other.
He's in love with Kim Jong Il.
Oh yeah.
So this is something you put on earlier from today from the HuffPost. Sioux Tribe sues North Dakota over voter ID requirements. The Supreme Court ruling has required identification with provable street address in the state, a rarity for people living on reservations. We were just talking about this. Like,
Yes.
they were here first, and what, they don't get to be citizens anymore? They don't get to vote like citizens anymore because they don't. Really?
Oh, the first people.
Bismarck, North Dakota. The Spirit Lake Sioux Tribe on Tuesday sued the state of North Dakota over its voting identification requirements, part of a larger effort to ensure American Indians can vote in this week's election, in the wake of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling in a similar lawsuit filed by another tribe. To cast a ballot, voters in North Dakota need an identification with a provable street address, something that's hard to come by on reservations. The state maintains everyone has a street address via the statewide 911 system, but the lawsuit filed by the Native American Rights Fund, the Campaign Legal Center, and two law firms argues the system is, quote, incomplete, contradictory, and prone to error on reservations. Quote, state policies should be designed to make it easier for all citizens to vote, but North Dakota's voter ID law disenfranchises Native Americans living on reservations, unquote, said Danielle Lang, senior attorney with the Campaign Legal Center. The lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court seeks to have the street address requirement ruled unconstitutional. Quote, we have a choice between a democracy that includes all eligible voters and a system that excludes people based on their circumstances or background, Lang said. Unless the court steps in, eligible Native American voters, including our clients, may be denied the right to vote next week due to the state's deeply flawed system of assigning and verifying voters' residential addresses. Secretary of State Al Yeager said the state does not comment on pending litigation.
Of course not.
The Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa sued over the voter ID requirements in 2016. A U.S. Supreme Court ruling in that case earlier this month allowed the state to continue requiring street addresses as opposed to other addresses such as post office boxes. However, Ruth Bader Ginsburg said in a dissent that, quote, the risk of voter confusion appears severe here. Wow, but post office P.O. boxes should be legal.
Yeah.
Because that disenfranchises, if you can't vote with a P.O. box, it disenfranchises tons and tons of people that either have transitory housing or that
It's still a mailbox. It's still
mailbox,
you
yeah.
still have an address.
It's crazy. North Dakota's 4 large American Indian tribes have been scrambling since the Supreme Court decision to make sure their numbers can vote in the election, which includes a race that could help determine control of the U.S. Senate. Republican U.S. Representative Kevin Cramer is challenging Democratic incumbent Senator Heidi Heitkamp, who narrowly won her seat in 2012 with the help of the American Indian vote. This is so insidious. The state's voter IDs laws were tightened just a few months later, but the Republican-controlled legislature maintains the changes were not due to Heitkamp's win. Yeager has said the changes were aimed at guarding against voter fraud.
Bullshit.
The 4 tribes in recent days have been issuing free IDs with residential street addresses to their members. But the Spirit Lake lawsuit argues that the 911 addressing system on reservations is, quote, characterized by disarray, errors, confusion, and missing or conflicting addresses. It cites several examples of what it says are tribal members who have experienced problems, including one man who used the residential street address listed on his state-issued ID on an absentee ballot application and had it denied due to an invalid address. The skirmish over voter access isn't limited to North Dakota. Voters in at least 8 states will face more stringent laws than they did in the last federal election, according to the nonpartisan Brenner Center for Justice.
And then those states include what's going on in Georgia with Stacey Abrams, and then Brian Kemp, who is Secretary of State, who won't step down from Secretary of State because he actually helps control voting. So he hasn't reclused himself, so he's cheating. And then you have in Texas what's going on with the senator race between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. Students have now started to sue the state of Texas because some of the people who've done basically what's going on in Texas, Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz, the people who've done early voting, their votes have been changed to more leaning on the Republican. So voter machines have been cheating. And then in Missouri, there was one going on with, I can't remember the one that's going to Missouri, but it's a form of, this people sued the state of Missouri, and they are the people who sued won because there was voter suppression going on there. So that's just 4. So it's going on everywhere. It's going on everywhere.
I'm not surprised and saddened that the Republican Party has so much money and power that they can manipulate voting.
They've cheated. Because they know they're going to lose. So that's where the whole gerrymandering starts. And then we're not even talking about that. They're just straight up being
not
like
allowing people who have a differing opinion to vote.
And you know who I really blame after the voting rights got knocked out I believe in 2012, 2013, where basically it made it easier for these states to suppress voting. I blame that coon Clarence Thomas. He voted for that. I'm getting
going in and out.
There we go.
My dad finally sent me a good cartoon that sort of expresses a point of view that we might agree with. There is a wagon trains going along sort of a prairie with a white man with a gun, a couple white men with guns, and then there is a Native American on a horse with a chief. He has his chief headdress on, and it says, "Oh, great, another migrant caravan."
Your dad said that?
My dad said that, and he's put another point of view. Finally, my dad sends me something I agree with. This is funny to me.
Wow.
Finally.
I'm so confused.
The Native Americans. Oh, another migrant caravan. And that's like 150, 160 years ago. So
I'm guessing he's getting tired of what Fox News is doing by setting all this fear about the whole migrant caravan supposedly coming to get us. It's so exhausting. It really is. I don't know, every day it's something new. Last week it was trans and, people getting murdered. This week we have more of the migrant caravan and more fear.
More fear.
I mean,
that's what America is now. It's just straight up fear, I guess.
The thing is, I do recall the fear, it used to be the fear of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. And that was fear that, the Bush administration stirred up as well, which is completely fucking wrong and ignorant because there was white supremacy going on in that administration as well. But Lordy, every week, every day, I'm going to be so disappointed if we don't get positive results next week.
It's going to be really scary. I mean, and I can only believe if we don't get positive results next week that it's due to meddling from the Republican Party and from what's been happening. That's what I can't believe. I'm very, very sad and scared. And
I'm scared.
We've got so many. I just please vote next week. Please vote. And again, it's sad that we don't have a choice really other than Democratic versus Republican. I wish that we lived in a multiple party system where other people, because I don't really even agree with the Democratic Party.
Thank you.
They're not progressive enough for me.
Absolutely, they big money.
But it's better than the alternative.
You got to take the bad or the worse.
Right. So let's not take the worst people.
We took that in 2016, and now look.
Oof.
We're in a constitutional crisis.
Oof.
Seriously.
Seriously, constitutional crisis is absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
And,
true.
you know, the Republicans are sitting ducks. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to a lot of the elections going on throughout the country, but some of the Republicans have just went full blown racism. Like there's in San Diego, your old hometown. What's going on down there with I forgot this prick's name, but he was the one that just got indicted for campaign fraud in San Diego, and he just went straight. I forget this man's name, but he is the Democrat he's running up against, I believe, is Middle Eastern, and the Republican who's stated something to the point of like, you know, if you vote for him, you're voting for terrorism.
Oof.
He just went straight up.
Oof.
Yeah.
This is real. Racism lands. Racism lands among the top Republican campaign strategies for 2018. Republicans are leaning hard on racism to woo voters against historically diverse Democratic field of candidates running this year. It can be hard to keep track, but the Huffington Post has a running list of racist comments, ads, and mailers, grading the attacks on their subtlety using a scale of 1 to 5 white hands. We'll look at that in a second. Cases that get 5 white hands will be familiar to many Daily Kos readers. This is from Daily Kos. Efforts to paint Rhodes scholar Antonio Delgado as a scary black rapper, to link Aftab Purvey to terrorism.
That's the one.
Though a case he never worked on, handled by the giant international law firm at which he was an associate, to link Amar Kepan-Najjar to terrorism through a grandfather who died before he was born, and of course Ron DeSantis' infamous "monkey this up" comments in the morning after the Florida gubernatorial primary. But even if you know about all those incidents, it's striking to see how widespread overt racism is in the Republican campaigns, whether in casual comments from candidates or as a planned campaign strategy. Often, it's a comment that shows how Republicans habitually look at people of color. Both Deb Haaland and Sharice Davids, Native American women running for the House in New Mexico and Kansas, respectively, have faced comments about the reservation. A local Republican official wanted to send Davids packing back to the reservation, while Halen's opponent thought that identifying Halen as Indian wasn't quite right because it, quote, evokes images that she was raised on a reservation. Republican Representative Pete Olson called his Democratic challenger, Sri Preston Kulkarni, a liberal Indo-American who's a carpetbagger, while Kulkarni was raised in the suburban Houston district he's running in and is descended from Sam Houston.
What? The founder of Houston in Texas? What?
Republicans aren't always shy about memorializing their racism, though, in the form of campaign mailers and ads. A Republican running for Tennessee State Senate against Gabby Salinas, who's an immigrant, sent out a mailer saying, quote, his family is called Shelby County home for 7 generations. He's from here. He's one of us. Subtext, and she's not. In Arizona, ads attacking Democratic gubernatorial candidate David Garcia have darkened his skin. The list goes on because Republican racism goes on and on and on. No doubt the list will keep growing in the final weeks of the campaign and beyond. After all, we all saw how much racism didn't go away when we elected a black president.
True.
Wow. Let's look at this Huffington Post running list of racist attacks on candidates.
Get ready to get
color.
mad, y'all.
Yeah, this is a running list of candidates, of racist attacks on candidates of color. Some attacks are coded, others are clear. People of color are running for state and national office, and the country has responded with the most American of traditions, by attacking them in very racist ways. Some attacks are coded, some are frankly stated. To keep track, we've begun a running list, limited to attacks made on candidates of color by their opponents, by opposing political organizations, or by opposing campaign surrogates. We'll make exceptions, however, where a third-party act against a candidate is so racist that it can't be ignored. For each candidate, we've graded the attacks and their subtlety by using a scale of 1 to 5 white hands in honor of the infamous Jesse Holmes ad, 5 being the most explicit. Here we go. We've got Brian Kelsey, husband, small business owner, 7th generation, Shelby Countonian. He's from here. He's one of us. Back at the 5 white hands. Where are the white hands? Well, white hands. Oh, Gabby Salinas, Democratic candidate for state senate in Tennessee's 31st district. A mailer sent out by Salinas' opponent, Brian Kelsey, says his family is called Shelby County, home for 7 generations. He's from here, he's one of us. Similar phrasings pop up on 2 websites for Kelsey. Salinas is an immigrant woman of color. Score 2 white hands.
Oh, here's the Ben Jealous one.
Ben Jealous, Democratic candidate for the governor of Maryland. Jealous' opponent, incumbent Governor Larry Hogan, Republican, told the crowd, quote, I wish every county was like the Western Maryland counties. Unfortunately, they're not all quite as smart as you guys are. Western Maryland, which formerly consists of Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett counties, is predominantly white. At the opening of his Baltimore campaign office, Hogan said, quote, don't let anybody tell you you have to vote a certain way because you happen to be black or you happen to live in Baltimore City. Some people have not been delivering for you for decades.
Like you.
Wow, score 2 white hands. Sri Preston Kulkarni, Democratic candidate for Texas's 22nd congressional district. During a small campaign event, U.S. Representative Pete Olson called Kulkarni a, quote, liberal Indo-American who's a carpetbagger, and wondered if his funding is, quote, coming from overseas. During the post-Civil War construction, carpetbaggers were northerners who moved to the South to get wealthy or acquire political power. Today it's seen as a slur for opportunistic candidates seeking election in areas where they lack a local connection. The Fort Bend County Republican Party has used a cartoonish version of Lord Ganesha in an ad urging Hindu Americans to voters to support the Republican Party. Would you worship a donkey or an elephant? The ad says. The choice is yours. The 22nd congressional district includes a chunk of Fort Bend County. 2 white hands up. Mandela Barnes, Democratic candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin. Barnes' opponent, Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kiefleisch, falsely accused him of kneeling during the national anthem while attending an opening of the Wisconsin State Fair. She didn't see him kneeling herself and denies that it happened. 2 white hands. Deb Haaland, this is the other one we know about, Democratic candidate for New Mexico's 1st congressional district. Haaland's opponent, former Senator Representative Janice Arnold Jones, suggested in an interview that Haaland isn't really Native American because she didn't grow up on a reservation. Well, there's no doubt that her lineage is Laguna, but she's a military brat, just like I am. So, you know, it evokes images that she was raised on a reservation. She belongs to a pueblo, said Arnold Jones during a segment of Fox News.
Oh my
Two white hands on.
Oh, here we go.
Sophia Wazer, Democratic candidate for the state senate in New Hampshire's 17th district. During the primary, Wazer defeated 66-year-old incumbent Dick Patton. He lashed out after, claiming that residents have expressed frustration with those who, quote, have just moved into the city, getting first dibs on public housing, and that older residents are concerned about being pushed out. A lot has been promised to minorities, he said. A lot of out-of-Concord people are getting everything. Patton also said that Wazir doesn't know the neighborhood. 3 white hands up. This goes on and on. Let's go to some...
That's the Stacey Abrams one. That's
Stacey
really,
Abrams. Oh, okay, this is Stacey Abrams, Democratic candidate for governor.
I just donated to her.
A photoshopped image shows Abrams holding a sign that declares her a communist who supports the Muslim Brotherhood. She's standing next to a Palestinian-American activist, Linda Sarsour, who's wearing a hijab. The real photo was taken at a rally marking the 1-year anniversary of the Women's March. And the sign they are holding reads simply Stacey Abrams and Governor. So they've changed it to communist. Wow. An August ad from the Republican Governors Association attacks Abrams for dancing around the truth and shows a pair of tap dancing feet. Oh my God, is she black?
Yes.
The advertisement loops the dancing feet in the background while the narrator attacks Abrams' personal finances.
Yeah. The
ad evokes minstrelsy in service of an argument that a black woman is simple-minded and irresponsible.
Mm-hmm. I got 3 Jesse Helm hands. Ooh, we're getting the 3.
Andy Kim, Democratic candidate for New Jersey's 3rd congressional district. A mailer targeting Kim features a caption saying, "There's something really fishy about Andy Kim," along with a photo of a whole fish on ice. The words "real fishy" and Andy Kim are rendered in chop suey font.
God damn.
Really fishy. Oh my God, 3 white hands. Representative Raul Girjana, I can't pronounce it. Girjava, Democratic incumbent for Arizona's 3rd congressional district. Girjava's opponent, Nick Pearson, said the longtime congressman is not a good example of a Mexican, not a good example of a Mexican American. He's not even a good example of an American. Pearson says his parents were Mexican citizens and added that he is as Mexican as Girl Hava. 3 white hands. Sharice Davids, Democratic candidate for Kansas's 3rd congressional district, in a Facebook message to Democratic official, a Kansas GOP official called Davids a, quote, radical socialist kickboxing lesbian Indian who will, quote, be sent back packing to the reservation. When Davids won the nomination, the Republican opponent, Representative Kevin Yoder, said she wasn't from around here and that she wants to force radical ideas on those of us who have dedicated our entire lives to this community and this state. He also said Davids doesn't know the state's values. 4 white hands up. Colin Allred, Democratic candidate for Texas's 32nd congressional district. Allred's opponent, Representative Pete Sessions, Republican Texas, claims voting for Allred would ensure that Republican Nancy Pelosi becomes Speaker of the House again with an agenda to raise taxes, give everyone free college, and legalize drugs.
What's wrong? What's wrong with that?
It would mean that they would legalize. They call it decriminalize all Schedule I drugs, Sessions says. And what is that? That's everything from crack cocaine to heroin to methamphetamine. And they would decriminalize, in essence, legalize all drugs in America. And if you get out of your old kick cereal decoder ring, you'll find that crack cocaine is just another way of saying scary Negroes. A digital ad pushing Sessions' pro-gun agenda depicts a darkened hand over the mouth of a white woman. Wow!
Four Jesse Helm hands.
Yeah. David Garcia, Democratic candidate for the governor of Arizona. The Republican Governors Association runs an ad that shows photos of a white family with 2 young daughters. The mother says, as a mom with 2 daughters, nothing is more important than keeping them safe. And that's why I'm worried about David Garcia. She goes on to say the candidate's call to abolish ICE places her daughters in danger.
Those brown hands.
Another ad from the RGA calling out Garcia's policy stances encourages viewers to just imagine living under Garcia's leadership. It also darkens his skin and juxtaposes the image against white mothers, children, and doctors. 4 white hands up.
Ugh.
It's getting harsher. Stephen Arsford, Democratic candidate for Nevada's 4th congressional district. An ad from the National Republican Congressional Committee attempts to connect Horsford to the South Sudanese terrorists. Images of rebels holding machine guns and wearing headscarves float across the screen before the ad's narration claims that R&R partners received almost $1 million from South Sudan, a corrupt regime whose forces raped and murdered civilians. While Horsford did serve as senior vice president for that lobbying firm, he did not lobby for South Sudan, something R&R confirmed in disclosed federal documents. And he focused on public relations during his employment. The ad also calls Horsford sleazy and shady. For white hands. Aaron Ford, Democratic candidate for Attorney General of Nevada. An ad from the Republican Attorney General's Association claims that past run-ins with the law make Ford unfit to be the state's top cop because he knows the law in all the wrong ways. Ford was arrested for public intoxication and failing to appear in court twice and stealing tires when he was in his late teens and early 20s. The ad doesn't mention when the arrests happened, nor does it note the association supported Adam Laxett's candidacy 4 years ago. Laxett, the state's current attorney general, was arrested for a DUI in '97 and is currently running for governor.
These are the ones I did not know about.
Ugo Okere, Democratic candidate for alderman in Chicago's 40th ward. Okere's opponent, incumbent alderman Pat O'Connor, said that fundraising flyer from Okere talked about building Nigerian power in Chicago and opposed to building community. For God's sake, if you want to talk about being part of a community and this is how you're going to raise your money, said O'Connor before he was drowned out from booing from the crowd. In response, Okere noted that the flyer was aimed at building political power in the Nigerian American community, something he said all communities deserve. In a statement soon released after, Okere said that he has lived in the community in which he's running since he was 9, and that O'Connor sought to divide me from my community and my physical home based on my skin and my heritage. Clearly he's black, 4 white hands. Maxine Waters, Democratic incumbent for California's 43rd congressional district. The conservative street artist mortified a Hollywood billboard advertising the latest Halloween movie by swapping out an image of Michael Myers for Waters. The artist chose a photo where Waters has her mouth open, and by replacing Myers' head with hers, It looks as though Waters is wildly wielding a knife. The subtext here is the same as it has been for most conservative attacks on Waters. She's an out-of-control, scary, screeching, dangerous black woman.
Four
hands up.
black or white hands.
4 white hands.
Oh, this is the one.
Omar
San Diego.
Campa-Najjar, Democratic candidate for California's 50th congressional district. Campa-Najjar's opponent, Republican Representative Duncan Hunter,
piece of
released
shit.
an attack ad calling him a security risk with connections to Islamic terrorism. The same ad accuses Campa-Najjar of attempting to infiltrate Congress. It also claims that Campa-Najjar changed his name so he sounds Hispanic and to erase his family's ties to terrorism. And the ad makes sure to note that his grandfather was part of the attack on Israeli athletes during the 1972 Olympics in Munich. Hunter later doubled down on this attack, claiming Campa-Najjar would leak classified information on military operations if elected. Why would he compromise U.S. operations to protect his relatives, the Najjars? Asks a letter paid for by Hunter's campaign and signed by 3 retired Marines. 5 white hands. Race high. 5 white racist hands. Don't want brown people. And
That's in San Diego.
in the growing, there are less, the population of white cisgendered males is going, there's more brown people, but our government is supposed to be representative of the people. So we have brown people here. Brown people,
We exist.
and should be represented by people in our.
But the funny thing is, they're not even talking about what they're going to do because the Republicans are dirty anyway. They don't have a platform to stand on. So they're using the fear, the scare tactics. The brown people are coming, the migrants, the caravan, the trans,
Scary.
the lesbians, kickboxing lesbian.
Kickboxers. Antonio Delgado, Democratic candidate for New York's 19th congressional district.
Yeah.
The Harvard lawyer's critics repeatedly bring up his decade-old past as a hip-hop artist to argue that he is unfit to represent the predominantly white district. A September ad from the National Republican Congressional Committee features clips of Delgado campaigning intertwined with darkened videos of the candidate rapping about sex, saying
Nigga.
and with the A, I didn't do hard R, and critiquing white supremacy. Yay, critique white supremacy! His opponent, Faso, said Delgado's music is, quote, inconsistent with the views of people in the 19th District and America. And he said that Delgado's lyrics, which are over a decade old, paint an ugly and false picture of America. A radio ad aired by the Congressional Leadership Fund, a super PAC that aims to elect Republicans to House of Representatives, refers to Delgado's music as the sonic blast of hateful rhetoric and anti-American views.
I didn't know white supremacy was anti-American.
Gerald Benjamin, a friend of Faso's and the director of the Benjamin Center in the State University of New York at New Paltz, asked in the New York Times in July, is a guy who makes a rap album the kind of guy who lives here in rural New York and reflects our lifestyle and our values? He added that people like us, people in rural New York, are not people who respond to this part of American culture. 5
Sure thing, boss.
white hands up.
Oh, this is the bad one. This is Andrew Gillum.
This is the big one. Andrew Gillum, Democratic candidate for governor in Florida. Former Representative Don DeSantis, the GOP nominee for governor, told Florida voters not to monkey this up by electing Gillum, who's a black man, and
he might be winning. He's 5 points ahead.
So scary. We're just letting racism just be a part of our political.
This is the Republican Party, so you know if you vote this way, you know who you are.
Yeah. A neo-Nazi group in Idaho sent robocalls for pretending to be Gillum.
We Negroes done made mud huts while white folk waste a bunch of them time making their home out of wood and a stone, says a man's voice in a stereotypically exaggerated dialect while drums and jungle noises played in the background. The speaker also claimed that Gilliam would pass a law allowing black people to escape arrest. If this Negro know for sure, he don't know nothing. And that robocall is really fucked up. I listened to it. It's terrible.
I am astounded that this is happening. The same white nationalist organization released another robocall that features a man pretending to be Gilliam and speaking in an exaggerated dialect. The voice says, "Well, hello there. I is the Negro Andrew Gillum, and I'll be asking you to make me governor of this here state of Florida." This is insane to me. Negro spirituals and monkey screeches can be heard in the background as the narrator suggests that using chicken feed as medicine would keep Gillum's healthcare plan cheap. The background music appears to come from Amos and Andy, a once popular radio and television show that relied on racial stereotypes.
They're using old school.
A GOP official from Orlando area posted a meme falsely claiming that Gillum will issue reparations for African enslavement.
Yay!
Why not?
That's not a bad thing.
Representative Matt Gaetz, stumping for DeSantis on October 6, accused Gillum of having overseen a rise in crime during his time as mayor of Tallahassee. If you want to look at Andrew Gillum's strategy, look no further than Tallahassee, Gaetz said. In Tallahassee, they're in the top 10%. They're in the top 10 in every major crime category in the state. They're the murder capital of Florida. I don't know whether to call him Andrew Gillum or Andrew Killum. In September, the Leon County Sheriff praised Gillum's record on crime. Under Mayor Andrew Gillum's leadership, violent crime is down 24% and overall crime is down 10%, with crime at a 5-year low in Tallahassee.
Jesse
races.
Helm hands 5.
We have to end our show, but we could go on.
There's so many.
On and on. We'll do one last one.
Oh, this is Shreveport. I didn't know about this
Stephen
one.
Jackson, Democratic candidate for mayor of Shreveport, Louisiana. An anonymous individual threatened to lynch Jackson,
Okay, that's
currently a Caddo Parish commissioner, if he did not drop out of the race for the mayor of Shreveport. The letter, which Jackson said was placed in his home, includes a racist reimaging of the iconic 2008 poster promoting Barack Obama's presidential campaign. Jackson's face appears in a noose, and the word hope has been changed to rope. Below the image, it says, "Leave our statue and property alone and get out of the race."
Nigger.
5 big old white hands up. This makes me so.
That's sick.
I mean, I'm.
That's
almost,
fucking sick.
I'm
it's
like I'm tearing up.
It's always been there, but the last one is so sick. Like lynching.
This is in our politics. This is campaigns.
This is the Republican
This
Party.
is Republican Party campaigning for Republicans, using legitimate racism, and
To
we're
win.
letting this happen, and we're allowing this to happen.
This is the way they want to win.
I guess. I know. We can just. I feel like we just have to sigh like Roman Reimer of every Friday, and like he. I mean, it's like, oh, the men's just gotta breathe.
I just hope this time next week when we're back on the air,
Oh my God.
we'll be celebrating or having a little, not celebrating, but having a sigh of relief
Yeah. Don't
these people are losers.
Don't let them. It's time to take over the House and the Senate. We cannot let this like racist rhetoric continue.
It affects everybody, even those stupid ass crackers that want to vote this way. You want your health care, right? You don't want your taxes to go just to the 1%. These people don't have a platform for you.
No, exactly.
They don't. So put your hate aside and just think about it. But I don't know. I'm not that hateful, so I don't know how you can do that.
Just go out and vote.
Vote.
And, if you're a San Franciscan, please, yes on
Yes on
C.
C.
Let's see some change here, and
Let's not see poop.
yeah, no more poop and no more people on the streets. This has been the Alta-cast. Yay! Bye.
Bye.
I turned the volume down on the iTunes, so you have
here
to
it
turn
is.
turn it up and then hit the breaker. There you go.
Breaker.
Cool. Thank you. Yay!
Bye, we did it. Oh my God. Oh, there was another one. Oh no. End it all.
Let's
Oh.
see. Oh, that's a good looking podcast. Say that.